feel like with City, you may have a season or two where there is a bit. I wouldn't necessarily say it's transitional in terms of eras coming to an end. But if Pep is only staying for 2 more years, maybe over the next 2 to 3 seasons, you're not going to be that formidable team that you were in the last 4 or 5 years. You might still win a league title in that period, but maybe you'll be a little bit more human from our perspective as rivals. But then Pep will probably hand over the reins to somebody, and then you'll start seeing that superstar.
No, I disagree with that one. I disagree with that.
You disagree with what? What bit? What bit?
That's the biggest joke ever. That's the biggest compliment we sold to people here.
What?
He is listen, Pep will get it right. The fact that he knows the deficiencies are easy. All you need to do is fix. If a car's not functioning and the engine's there, you fix the engine first. Yeah, the car will go on. Yeah, he needs to fix the engine. That's the midfield. That must come in. You must get Alvarez back up. That has to happen because he sold Alvarez 95 million, and you never got that replacement. So that needs a backup. The other thing that you need is a defender.
So we know what you need. We know what you need. But let me ask you a question though. Let me ask you this question. So, but you are, to a degree, you're agreeing with what we're saying. Part of this transition period, hang on, is buying these new players. But there's no guarantees that the players you buy are as good as the players. And the reason hang on, please. Let me just finish my point because I'm not trying to throw salt here at Guardiola. Historically speaking, think of all you're not just a good City team. Yeah. You're a European great. To dominate your domestic league and win a treble, you're a great. Look at all those great other great sides, you know, whether it's Ajax in the 70s, Liverpool in the 80s. If you look at the Barca team that Pep had, look before and after those periods of all those victories. Most of them, there's a dip and a period of time. Sometimes it's a dip for a year or two and then they come back and they go off. But rarely are those peaks hit and then just continued for 2, 3, 4 decades. There's ups and downs to this because there's only a finite amount of players who are at the level at any one time in the world of your City team at its peak level. KDB, Haaland, Gundogan, all your defenders. And sometimes it's not even about having a well-run club. Sometimes those players at similar levels that could make you that good again are already elsewhere. And maybe the 2 or 3 that you can buy that will get to that level are 2 or 3 years away from it development-wise. Sometimes you can't speed that process up. It just takes time because there's only a finite amount of players in the world that are you think about how good KDB is and how hard he's going to be for you to replace. I think he's been him and like Rodri. You look at them in the last 2 to 3 years and how instrumental they've been. They say they both right now. How many DMs in the world and how many attacking midfielders are of the same quality as those two at their peak? How many exist in your opinions?
Not many. All I can say is, look, if you look at, that's what I'm saying, you invest in quality. Like, for instance, I was just about to say this about Pep Guardiola. People keep saying that, but look at City. We thought when Fernandinho was gone, Terry, by the way, and we were calling Rodri a truck. By the way, when he came to City, we made fun of Rodri. We said he's a truck, he's slow. Gundogan was slow, he's a truck. He brought Rodri and gave fake to Rodri. Rodri sucked, by the way. He cost us the Champions.
I agree. But you went upper level. Fernandinho is very good. You went upper level.
But at the beginning,
I understand. Sorry, let me just say, I understand your point that nobody thought Rodri was going to be better than Fernandinho.
He wasn't,
I get that, but now you know what you know. So you're talking about you're going to need as good as Rodri to be this dominant. Now, if you're probably you may not end up with somebody as good as that because they may not exist. And someone here says Kat, Terry, Musiala, and Wirtz are available. They're both brilliant players.
Musiala is not leaving Bayern.
But let's say they do. Let's say they do. We can boil this down even more. Let's say they do. KDB isn't just great because of how good he looked. He was so great for you because of his numbers. There's no guarantee that these two players score and assist at the level that he did. And
What's is only 21?
Okay.
But come on, Hamza.
Hamza, you're not listening to the point. They might. Hamza, this is again, I want us to be careful and I don't want any emotions in this. I am not saying you won't replace these great players. It's impossible. I'm saying prepare yourself. I've seen it before with other clubs and I've done research. It's hard to rebuild great teams in the moment. It's like trying to fix a hole in a ship that's might sink, that's already out at sea. That's much harder than taking it into a dock, lifting it out the water, and you can fix it on dry land. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying you won't do it.
I'm correct you about that when he rebuilt. He did rebuild.
Prepare yourself.
He did not rebuild when he had the first signing. We had Company, Otamendi, we had the likes of Zinchenko, we had Sterling.
He rebuilt his own team.
He has never had to rebuild. Bro, you've asked me a question, please. No, I'm talking about rebuilding a great team. The City team he inherited were very good. They'd won titles, but that team wasn't an English or European great. There's a difference, bro. And when it's a hard one to articulate right through. I'm saying that there could be a transitional period for you whilst you're rebuilding and trying to get back to that level. Now, the difference is this. City's transitional level, because of how good Pep is and how good you are, is still a team that's going to challenge for the titles. I'm not talking about dropping to 10th in the league or going a decade without winning. Again, don't misconstrue it. But maybe what we are seeing this season is some of the players aging out. Some of them are too bloated and you've got to move on. Some of the replacements are not good enough. You've got to fix that. Now, maybe in the summer you buy 4 players and you're bang at it again next year. No issues whatsoever. But maybe 2 of those signings end up being more like your Calvin Phillips and Nunez's again. These things happen.
Okay, Terry, you know what the problem is?
I think Hugo Bayana has the biggest challenge in world football. Like, to come in under pressure. That's what they got, a new guy, new ideas.
But if you don't,
that doesn't mean that doesn't guarantee it's going to work.
But
I mean, it might work. It could work. If you think about your last like 4 midfield signings of Calvin Phillips, Nunez, Kovacic, and then re-signing Gundogan. Again, if I'd have said to you, imagine you know what we know now about how good or bad those signings have been. If I'd have said to you 3 years ago, they're your next 4 signings and this is how they'll perform, City fans would have said you're being salty, Terry. There's no way we're going to do that. I'm not saying you'll foul or go backwards. I'm saying be prepared because history dictates it's hard. Guys, I know we all want to speak here, but I want to get through some super chats. I've got to redirect this show very soon. I'm nearly out of time. Hamza put some respect on Fergie's name. He paved the way for Pep. Without him, Pep wouldn't be Pep. I see how you disrespect Fergie on Hassam's show. And you too, Mo, you fraud.
I'm saying he has never won 4 in a row. That's not disrespectful.
I never disrespected Ferguson. I still think Ferguson is number 1.
He is still number 1. Let's get real. If anything happens to Haaland, how is the City team winning any games? Right now, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
They're not winning with him, though, are they?
Walker is the captain. How can you say there is no leadership, Hamza?
I was going to address that actually earlier. When Hamza said no leadership in the City team, and I was like, what are you talking about? That's why I said eras come to an end. It's not that there's no leadership on the pitch. You guys have leadership in that team consistently and talent. It's just that it is what it is right now. You're playing badly. It simply goes to show that without one player, your team has fallen apart. And without that one player, Pep himself is finding it hard to actually use the pieces that he has in the best possible way to win games. That's all it is.
Hamza, Spurs have beaten City more times than they have beaten any other team in the league. They were missing 2 centre-backs and still kept the clean sheet. Absolutely. That's why you can't just use the injury excuse at any team, any club. There's a balance here. There's a balance here, definitely. This here says, cheers, man. This here says, City looked like Liverpool a few years ago when Hendo and Fabinho's legs went.
That's what I said.
Yeah, very, very fair point. Spurs struggle against teams that don't play out from the back, as they don't have the creativity to create goals. They rely on teams to make mistakes. Maybe a little bit, but I think that the mistakes that were made today by City in the first 2 goals were forced by Spurs. I think they're forced errors. They're not unforced errors. This game shows Spurs lost to City, the Etihad last season, was on purpose, so Arsenal couldn't win the league. Completely unreal. Can you imagine if Spurs would have done this in that like final game of the season last year, 1-4-0? Like, man, completely unrelated. Just asking for a friend. Anyone know Kate's address? D-Town, you're shameless, bro. Jimbo, we're waiting. No, this is to Alex. No, you sound bitter, Alex, because Anne proved you wrong.
Funny. No, I'm not bitter at all. Anyway, moving on. No, bro, if he wants to come and have a go at me, that's all day long. But I'm happy how I feel at the moment. I think the Manchester City fan, I forgot his name, explained exactly what I've just explained just now. Absolutely fantastic performance, not bitter at all. Jerome, if you want to have a go at me, you know where to find me. So that's it. You know what I mean?
Mr. Box Office
find me on the
TV.
channel.
Mr. Box Office TV. If you don't know, get to know.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Terry, you made some very good points. Don't get used to it though, because I don't agree with a lot of people, by the way. So just treasure that, Bob. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Like gold, like I said.
Tony here says, let fans celebrate. Spurs should celebrate with chest. Talk that talk because you earned it. Also, what the F was Walker doing for that last goal? That's from an Arsenal fan, Tony. Yeah, that last goal was funny. It's like, you remember when Anderson Silva started sort of dancing and then moving around and sort of showboating and he got caught on the chin? It was a little bit like that. It's like, go on, I bet you can't do me for pace. He did. Favorite thing about Spurs is even in a win, some don't know how to act.
It comes every single time, Terry. I'm happy with this. Until we do prove it, that's it. You know what I mean? I don't
Tottenham,
know where
Tottenham is a one-trick pony. Play high, high line, force opponents into mistakes and score on the counter. They struggle against smaller teams playing long ball, no creativity.
You know what? Today we played well. You know what I mean? I think we can't really have a go at that at the moment. You know what I mean?
Can you smile then? Smile then, Alex.
No, bruv, I'm fine, bruv.
Your heart is aching.
Bro, life is
Smile,
living. You know what I
even
mean?
though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky,
he's loving this at the moment.
And deserves praise today. He put Pep on pegs, hung out to dry. No, he did. Them spitballs Pep will make him. Tony here says Pep cannot win with an average team. He only wins when he has dominant teams. His tactics don't work. This is one thing I would say. If they don't create another great team, right? I'm not saying this is proven, but I'm just talking for the debate around GOAT status. If they, over the next 3 years, are a good team, not a great team, and he doesn't win the league in any one of those cases, some of those allegations will hold a little bit of water. Some of them will. But again, I still think he's going to turn this. I still think they're going to turn this around at some point in the next season or two and win more titles. So I don't think they're finished in any way, shape, or form. Rico Lewis was so bad, sloppy. Passing feels falling under pressure. City's defensive balance is lost without Rodri and Guardiola. Idiot keeps shooting.
Guardiola spends half of the whole 90 minutes in the other side of the pitch. I'm like, you defender, what are you doing? There was so much space behind that guy today. Like it was just ridiculous. And I'm like, you don't have Walker speed, so how do you plan to cover this entire space? Like what do you think you're doing? And
the problem is Walker doesn't have Walker speed anymore.
He had Walker speed.
Yeah,
and I think I still, like I said before, I don't think Pep was expecting Spurs to defend the way that they did. I think and definitely he definitely adapted to, especially in the absence of both Romero and Van de Ven, because we didn't have we
did it, mate.
Yeah,
he had to do that though. He had to do that.
He did very good.
He had to do it, and like I said, I stick by what I say.
He needs to do it in more games.
I do not want to see Romero back in the team. I want to see Jefferson.
Yeah, but if he was fit, Alex, if he was fit, he would have partnered.
That's a mistake because he's not playing.
I'm really happy. I'm so happy.
So I say to you right now, I've been meaning to say this for quite a while. Dragerson and Davis should be in defence right now. For me, at the moment,
I think they deserve it out of meritocracy for today, no doubt. I beg they play like this next week. Endo last season pocketed their whole midfield. Also, we had no Salah, Trent, Konate. The left back was Gomez. Honestly, if Liverpool are at their best next week and City are at today's level or the Sporting level, it could be painful for them. It could be really painful. The football Terrace will be there, live and direct. Spurs have scored the most goals in the league to push back against the Chelsea superfan. The Spurs have scored the most in the league. I didn't know that. I didn't look at that stat, but that's a great achievement. 12 games in.
City go and get a draw next week against Liverpool. I don't know. I bet they're going to go and get a result against Liverpool.
And that's the part that's when the league starts getting interesting. The draws, because if you look at last season, City only lost 3 and drew 7. They lost only 3, and right now they're on 4 losses already.
I bet that if you'd have said it in the summer,
I think Liverpool don't win the league from now. It's the biggest bottle job in Premier League history.
No, it's just 11.
It's the biggest bottle job in Premier League history. It will be massive.
I will agree with you. Hamza, you're gonna. I agree with you. If they win tomorrow and beat you and have an 11-point gap over City, then again, but if City then win the league from that point, then I think you've got a definite argument.
But Terry, mathematically, last season game week 20. Arsenal,
but how come Liverpool fans are not saying they're going to win the league?
I did.
Last season game week 20, Arsenal were 5 points behind Liverpool, and then had and finished the league with 7 points ahead of them. So that was a 12-point swing by the end of the
yeah, that's a good point.
So my thing is, just because my game week 11, look, nobody's going to win this league this year with 100 points. So let's even give the top 3 teams 100 points and subtract 15. That's 5 games each that they're allowed to lose. Whoever wins this season probably wins with 85 to 89 points, thereabout roughly. Because there's 3 teams right at the top there with Chelsea in the mix, Aston Villa, and a lot of other hungry teams just right behind them.
And watch out for Ruben's Reds, mate. We're on the march. I'm telling you.
So for me, I didn't. You're going to win with 85 points. If you look at what you have now, for example, as of today's game, Arsenal now has 22 points. To get to 85, we need 63 more points. And there's going to be draws. There's going to be losses.
Liverpool are tracking towards massive numbers with only 1 draw and 1 defeat. So they'd have to have a bit of a dig. But look.